Hello, it's Adil bringing you into market analysis review of the US markets and the flush basically that occurred today. Interesting. Okay, so I've been obviously highlighting this pattern in the S&P, which obviously has been the HNS. If you look at my Twitter feed, I've been highlighting the fact that we have this HNS formation. Obviously, that's been quite active, and obviously it transpired and played out today. I didn't expect the ferocity of it. Obviously, I did expect it to play out to 2050 region, but obviously not the 2040 region, which certainly has caught me by surprise. So I'll certainly elaborate upon that. Okay, for now, I think we all know from a fundamental perspective as to why the market sold off. I mean, yes, let's just explain this. I mean, you have the Asian markets down overnight. Obviously, European markets followed, and the US market followed that. We do have the Dow obviously down quite substantially. The Nasdaq, I think I need to add on here is the S&P. Bear with me. Okay, so the SPX, let's get that on there as well. Okay, so basically you've the S&P 500 down quite substantially. So basically all due to the post NFP, post jobs data, fear of a rate hike, etc., etc. Okay. As you can see there, down 35 points, so down 1.7%. Okay, so let's try and fathom out as to, from a fundamental perspective, we already know to a large extent it's all to do with the rate hike expectations obviously being pushed forward to June now, more or less. And obviously there was a rumour going around stating that obviously a rate hike or two rate hikes this year would lead to a 10% correction, etc., etc. So it's all about a rising dollar. The dollar obviously is hurting potential exports and obviously earnings going forward as well. So don't be surprised if all of a sudden we start getting dovish talk, okay, with regards to the market. So that's going to be interesting going forward. Okay, let's see what the technical setup is, and that's basically, let's do a brief video with regards to the market. So we're into this diagonal trend line support, so let's observe that for now. You got the fib 50% at 2050 and a 61% at 2033. So there are two levels of support. We failed to hold the previous resistance equal support there, which I did expect to hold to a large extent. Obviously failed, and the market now has obviously broken this key trend line here, and let's just see how it transpires. Okay, but again, it's the fib 61% and 50% area that's going to be of importance to me going forward. Okay, on the daily chart. Now the weekly chart itself, present obviously we are potentially forming potential double top, but again reserve my judgment for now. 60-minute chart, HNS formation is complete. Generally under the rules of TA, when the HNS formation hits its target, it generally tends to short squeeze in the opposite direction. That obviously wasn't the case today. We had concerns over Greece, obviously China, Asian markets down overnight, and there's obviously fear with regards to interest rate hikes. So that's basically the sentiment and the thought process driving these markets at the moment. Okay, so that's your 60-minute chart. So your 60-minute chart was giving you support at 2057, which failed, and now obviously your key support level is going to be 2040 level. Okay, 10-minute chart on the S&P 500. I mean, it certainly doesn't look very bullish from my angle. Okay, certainly looking very bearish, especially those last two candles. I mean, the last two candles are quite substantial, especially that last candle, higher volume, quite a substantial sell-off. But that generally does dictate, just bear in mind, whenever you see quite a substantial sell-off in the, I mean, especially towards the latter part of the day or any time of the day, with a generally high volume spike, that generally means capitulation, and the sell-off is generally over and done with, i.e. marking a potential pivot low. So that's going to be interesting to certainly keep a highlight of. Okay, so just watch out for this pattern here. That's basically what we're expecting for now. Okay, so potential bearish channel, potential breakout moving higher, and just bear in mind that you do have this unfilled gap above here, which is at 2078. That certainly needs to close with regards to the S&P 500. Okay, that's going to be very interesting going forward. 2080, 2078. Okay, so that's basically the situation that we find ourselves in from a technical perspective. Okay, on the S&P 500. Now we can corroborate that with the Russell. So if we look at the Russell, Now this is quite interesting, this, folks. Okay, this is very interesting. This is something that really fascinated me as well, especially today. The Russell has held, even with today's, obviously, well, not today, but with regards to the carnage, etc. The Russell obviously did hold the previous resistance equal support, and given the fact that it certainly needs to be updated, it has obviously sold off quite substantially. But we are into this support zone here at 1200, so that certainly needs to be kept an eye out for, given the fact that we are obviously had an inside day and then obviously a sell-off. But watch out for that. Okay, that's going to be quite interesting with regards to a support zone in that region. Okay, you're looking at around the 1200. Okay, that's the actual. So look at the Wiltshire. Okay, the Wiltshire generally tends to be quite important. Daily chart, quite a substantial sell-off. I did expect that previous resistance equal support. Oh, obviously that wasn't the case. And now we're into this zone at 50%, potential 61% resistance. Okay, so that's basically where we are. Okay, that's basically what we're looking for with regards to this market going forward. Okay, and if that 50% holds, then yes, we can potentially bounce and make a potential new high. But at this very moment in time, that is quite a vicious looking candle on a daily chart. Okay, certainly not one for the bulls certainly to get excited about. Okay, so HNS formation, you had a pivot high at 21.95, call it 2200 just for the safe side, 21.60, so you're looking at a 1400 point drop, and currently at the 21.600. Obviously we're only at 21.200, so this is quite a substantial drop left to go with regards to the actual Wiltshire 500. Okay, so bear that in mind. You are coming into some potential support down here, so this certainly needs to be respected. Obviously if that goes in the next level, you're looking at 2600, which really, I mean, given the fact that you've got 21.600 here and 2200 here, you're looking at a 400 point drop ideally, and you are looking at we're almost there. I mean, you have got support, but the HNS more or less has been completed from a 400 point drop from 26,10600, 21.9. So you're looking, so that's basically you're looking for a short squeeze move higher on the 60-minute chart on the Wiltshire, same as the S&P 500. The only slight problem is the fact that we continue to make new lows, which was a concern for me, especially going into the close and given the volume increase as well that we witnessed on the S&P 500. But again, I mean, it certainly does seem to be overcooked or overdone, should I say. Okay, so this is basically where we are. We're in this zone here. Okie dokie. So that's basically where we find ourselves in. So potential breakout of this, and obviously then your short squeeze will certainly start and kick into motion. The 60-minute chart HNS completed. So that confirms the S&P 500 support at 2040, 2050 will be solid support on the US markets there. Okay, so look at the Dow. Dow again, we have just about holding this pivot low here at 17,690. Obviously in that 50% fib support. So again, certainly needs to be respected on the daily chart as potential support zone. Okay, the HNS is obviously active here as well. Certainly does have a substantial way to go if you want the HNS target to be met. But for now, there is horizontal support around this region here at around 17,660 level. Obviously the market goes lower, then we are going to look at potential support zone down there. Now the Dow Transports is certainly indicating to you that the HNS or the Dow is certainly sell-off has certainly completed. Okay, as you can see here, and the 60-minute chart obviously has completed this HNS formation, which generally means that the short squeeze is over, and we're looking for a potential reversal in the opposite direction. Okay, and that's going to be interesting to observe. Okay, very interesting. Okay, so certainly a potential for a short squeeze going into tomorrow. Okay, so the Nasdaq again is into the fib 38% resistance, previous resistance equals support on the daily chart, again indicating support. 60-minute chart HNS formation has been completed into the 200 MA. There is an unfilled gap at 42.96, mind you, so bear that in mind. But given the fact that the DAX is very stubbornly strong at present, and you certainly are looking for a move higher, you do have an unfilled gap below at the 44112, so that certainly needs to close. Okay, so get rid of all this now, it's not required. We're into a different type of zone now, and it's all about this this gap level here and whether this market can close it. Okay, that's basically all it comes down to. Okie dokie. Okay, so this is basically where we are, and obviously we're testing that lower level there. Okay, so looking for a potential move higher, and then obviously gap fill above at 4410. Okay, with regards to the Nasdaq. Now we can corroborate the Nasdaq with the semi-cons, and semiconductors obviously are into support the 60-minute channel, 60-minute chart, as you can see. The daily chart is certainly more circumspect, given the fact that if you see the pivot low, pivot high, and you are coming into 38% obviously fib support. Again, so that's another argument for a potential move higher, and obviously horizontal support as well. 60-minute chart on the semicons, as you know, you're already into support, and obviously 200 MA below, so that certainly needs to be respected. The biotechnologies index daily chart, obviously you are looking at holding gap fill, which really has held, so quite substantially bullish. With regards to the Nasdaq, obviously we are languishing at the previous resistance equals support, so this again all bullish signs. Okay, with regards to the biotechs, they still remain strong and positive. Okay, so that's it, folks. So that's the wrap up with regards to US markets. So bear in mind, conclusion is that the S&P 500 has hit its H&S target. Provided we remain above 2040, then you are going to get a powerful short squeeze, potentially of 2060, and don't be surprised if you get 2080 close as well. Okay, folks, so risk on, risk off, wax on, wax off. Goodbye now.